Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore could rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore used to be just a made-up word.
Marvel. We're still in phase one.
It's like phase 1, part 3, section 7.
Subsection,
we had
subsection
to get
8.
through it. Mhm.
So, yeah. So, if you guys didn't know what show you're listening to, welcome to Every Man's Guide to Nerddom. We are two 30 to 40 something year olds who pretty much talk about whatever we want. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kyle. You guys might know us online as Guyver and K-Sig from the Twitches and other things. And with us we have our special MCU Marvel guest, Mr. BRob. How are you, sir?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. Well, if you are watching the YouTube video instead of listening to the podcast on, by the way, we are on now 7 platforms, including Apple and Google, 2 of the biggest. Yay, go us.
Yay.
You'll notice that BRob is drinking his Guinness first thing. We're recording this early Saturday morning, and he's not moving much. He's just that drunk right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually channeling his inner Drax, where he's mastered the art of moving so slow that he's practically invisible. Either that, or there was like a bus. No, there's like a bus full of nuns and orphans and like some bikers, and he saved them or something. So I don't know, but he's not on video.
But he's still with us in voice and spirit.
He's with us in voice and spirit.
It's honestly better this way.
According to one of our fans, we'll call him Mr. Yim Reach. Yes, that is better for anonymity's sake. So if you haven't figured it out, we are in part 3 of phase 1. There is just so much shit to talk about in phase 1. I mean, it's going to be like this for every phase, but now I think we're into the big daddies of the movies, because Iron Man, Hulk, and Iron Man 2 were kind of your starter kits, I want to say, into the MCU. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of the MCU. More of the story-driven movies, and that's going to be Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and the Avengers. I'm really, really excited for these 3. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited about these.
Yeah, this is really.
I promise I'm excited. I just haven't fully awakened.
So, K-Sig was streaming late last night. He was a Viking.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Viking
also
for a little bit
playing a Viking game.
So
you were the most emo-looking Viking.
I did create an emo Viking, didn't I? Black hair going down one side of my face, slouched over. It's fun. Yeah. We'll go back and play it.
Sit in your little hut, sulking because you don't get to go, pillage with all the other Vikings. They never let me do anything.
I lost the nerve.
Oh, father.
Oh, father. That was good. So let's dive into MCU Phase 1, Part 3 with Thor. Thor was released May 6th.
Oh, that's a good segue.
Yeah, it was.
It was like an unintentional segue. Yeah.
It was.
That
good for
really
us. Well. We're good.
Yeah.
Actually impressed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was actually planned.
How do I... He's actually impressed. How do I mute him? I'm just kidding. We won't mute him. We love BRob. Thor, released May 6th of 2011. So literally 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago to the day. Well, I mean, it's February right now. and it's the 13th. You get what I'm saying.
We're
It doesn't
pretty
matter
close
if
to
I'm
a,
accurate or not.
to a Thor anniversary.
We're close enough. But it's, do you guys believe that we are, because I can literally remember watching Thor in the theaters. And so it doesn't seem like it was 10 years ago. Like, what did you guys go see it in the theater? What was your early impression of Thor when you saw it? Or did you wait on video?
Mine was at home. I watched very, very few of these in theater. That wasn't that into them until probably after Thor. But I remember watching it. The first time I watched it, I thought it was pretty cool. And then when I went back and watched it after a few more movies came out, I liked it a lot more. I think I kind of bought into that because it wasn't like, it was well received, but I guess compared to the rest of the run of movies, it was probably one of the least well received from what I've gathered. That may have kind of bought in, or I might have bought into that a little bit when I actually just went back and just watched it for what it was a little bit later. But then I liked it a lot more.
BRob?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a huge Thor fan. I didn't know a whole lot of the backstory, a little bit, enough to be dangerous, and but just there was a lot of unfamiliar actors in this movie, so I didn't know exactly other Anthony Hopkins, Rene Russo, people that weren't even playing the main parts. So I didn't know how it was going to go, but I mean, I went to the theaters for every Marvel movie. And it was great. I mean, I was very impressed, and I thought they really had something.
Right. So let's talk about what Kyle said here for a minute. One of the more not well received Marvel movies. I would agree with him on that. The reason I think that maybe it wasn't so well received is because Thor is one of the big three in the Avengers, but at the same time, he's not everyone's favorite Avenger. So not a lot of people have delved back into his backstory. I loved Thor. I used to have a lot of the Thor comics. I went through the Thunderstrike era. I went through, all sorts of different phases with him in the comics. When he moved to Oklahoma, I had those comics. But this was also a backstory without being a backstory, I think. And you guys jump in at any time if you think I'm wrong on that. But it gave some backstory on who Thor was with his arrogance. But it didn't actually go backstory. It just showed where he was from basically a small clip to how he got to where he was today in this film.
It's a very condensed one. I think some of the later movies kind of filled in some of the gaps a little bit more, but yeah, it was like it felt a little rushed, maybe like it was in a hurry to throw him to earth. But it's different, I think, than what a lot of people are used to with your superhero movies, because it brought in the more like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not astral, but out of this world type superhero to this universe, because everybody else was, up to this point, was grounded in Earth. They were Earth-based superheroes, and now you have this kind of godlike being, which, and I can see where maybe it wasn't as well received, or it was different because everybody kind of knew who Thor was, but he, like you said, he wasn't everybody's favorite. Everybody knows Iron Man. Everybody knows most of your big mutants from X-Men. Everybody knows Hulk. So this was probably a lot of people's first introduction to Thor himself. And if you weren't a comic nerd, a comic buff back in the day, it may have came off as a little odd. But it ends up working out in the long run for sure. I think he became a true fan favorite for a new generation of people.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they would have, if they would have tried to do any more than what they did, it would have been panned even harder. I think they did a really good job in setting up the things in motion, like you guys are talking about for the character development. I think out of all of them, for me, I feel like this one leads to like the most plot holes throughout the series
Mm-hmm.
for me. And then raises a lot of questions. Well, what's this? What's this? There wasn't a whole lot of explanation, but you know, I did read enough of the comic books to know certain things, or enough Norse mythology, so that you can piece things together.
Right.
But no, I mean, I really enjoyed it.
So that's actually a great segue from what you both two said. So this was directed by Kenneth Branagh. Did I say his last name right? I think I did. Because I like to get fancy with last names, as that was pointed out. Bastards.
Mr. Chidal.
He is a Chidal. Kenneth is he's a classically trained actor. He did a lot of Shakespeare stuff. He's well known for his Shakespearean roles, his classical roles, and they gave him the helm for this. What made this difficult for Kenneth was, if you look at our first three movies, Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, and Iron Man 2, they were all set in realistic places. It was all places that are here on Earth, places that we could go to. Thor is the first one that was basically make or break for the Marvel Universe, because this was set in Asgard. A lot of this was set in Asgard. It brought us to another realm, that wasn't of Earth. Well, a lot was set on Earth, but this was kind of the make or break for Marvel. So I think Kenneth had a really hard job I think he did a good job for what he was given, and brought us into this realm that expanded on the MCU as a whole. So I think he had a really tough job to begin with. And I don't remember, I was trying to look it up, but I couldn't remember. I think I remember at one point reading that he never read a Thor comic before this.
It'd be kind of important.
So, but yeah, it's kind of important. Ang Lee.
But I can see, I didn't know that he was like you said, classically trained Shakespearean. I think that translates, and you can see that in the Asgard scenes. Those seem like that might be something more akin to like his Shakespearean background could probably lend to those scenes a lot better than your modern Earth scenes, because those are slightly mythical. I think that tone would carry over well, and it seems like it did. That's a very regal and proper setting with there's a lot of shit going on, a lot of action and stuff, but there's still I can see where that would fit in for those segments.
Mm-hmm. So, anything to add, BRob? Are you good?
No, I think you guys hit it.
Okay. Next, this was written by J. Michael Straczynski. Why is this
Fancy
important?
that one up.
Fancy that one up. J. Michael was actually one of the main writers for Thor. He was the one who brought Thor to Oklahoma. He's the one who brought Asgard to Oklahoma. He's the one who wrote Thor for a lot of issues. So this was actually written by the guy who wrote the comic, which is why I think some of the dialogue actually translated very well to the movie. Don't get me wrong, some of the dialogue I think was really forced. But I think the writing was very good for source material, because it was by a writer. J. Michael has done a lot of other stuff. He had a run on what is it called? I'm looking back here because I know what the name is. Justice League. He did some Justice League stuff. He did a lot of. He's a big book and comic book writer. So, and I like his work. So that's why that point is important to the Marvel universe, because you actually have the guy who wrote the comics, who wrote the script for the movie. Bless you.
Thank you. That's got to be a
So
fairly difficult transition because your dialogue and stuff, when you look at how things are written out in comics, it's very rarely is it really extrapolated into big dialogue scenes. You know, usually you have your short quips. You don't have a lot of long running monologues, and you get a lot of especially if it's something in the middle run, if it's a big event that's happening, something where the writers know that somebody maybe completely new to the series is going to pick it up. You get a lot of the I think it was like the anime effect, like I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay, they just now explained everything to me in 2 pages about what's happened over the last 5 years really quick. So you get a lot of explanation and stuff, and that doesn't always translate well over to film because of the little quick short dialogue blips. So I think he did a really good job of that, of making that work from the 2 different types of media.
right. BRob.
I mean, you guys are killing it. You're taking all the words right out of my mouth. So I can't
So good.
really
Okay,
add
good.
any-
We just want to make
thing
sure that
to
you didn't
this
have
for the
anything to add. Look, now let's dive into the plot. The plot of Thor is, I'm going to go based off of what I remember. I just rewatched this, but or we could read it to you, but it's more fun to hear us stumble through it. Basically, Thor, it starts off with the retelling of Odin is retelling the story basically of the Asgardians, their history. And you have, it introduces all our cast of characters that we see on the Asgardian side. And you come to find out that Thor is just this super, super vain, conceited, what other word am I looking for, guys?
reckless,
Pompous.
Reckless, pompous, yeah. Prince of Asgard, who's set to take the throne.
entitled.
Completely entitled. If there was,
He's a very Chad superhero.
Yeah, he would be Chad, wouldn't he? Yeah. That's my hammer. Who's set to take the throne, but because of and this is just high overview, because of certain circumstances and his brashness, I guess you could say, him being a hothead, he's deemed unworthy and cast out of Asgard, and it's how he interacts with becoming mortal with mortals. And it's a redemption movie is what it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, would you guys anything to add to this?
It's kind of a bit of a retelling. The story is used in a lot of different eras and things, but it's the whole bit by bit. It's the prodigal son returning, like redemption story is what it is. Going against the wishes of his father, more or less. His father not deeming him worthy. He's cast out from his homeland. Yeah, he hit it like having to redeem himself. It's a little bit of a love story.
Yeah, I just remember just hating him.
You hated him at first?
Well, at the very beginning, I'm like, man, who this asshole? I mean, he almost gets his friends killed. He just doesn't take into account. He's all just trying to prove himself for honestly no reason.
Right.
And I mean, it's definitely a character that I totally, reversed on by the end of the movie. But it was just like, how are they gonna make me like him?
Right.
And I think that was the goal of the movie, and
it's redemption.
Yeah, They did a great job
Right.
with it because if you didn't hate him in the beginning, his redemption in the end wouldn't have worked. I think
That's true.
the more you hated him, the more you despised his attitude and the way he carried himself and the way he acted. The bigger payoff at the end when you finally like, okay, Thor's not a bad guy. Thor's a good dude, and he needed that breakdown in the beginning to be able to get that redemption and win people over for the basically for the sake of the franchise. Because that didn't work, a lot of this falls apart in later movies.
Well, and honestly, I just didn't think this actor, because I mean, he hadn't been in anything up to that point.
Mhm.
I didn't know if he could pull it off. This wasn't, somebody we had heard of in the title role. Honestly, I think if I remember right, one of the Warriors 3 was probably more well known than him. Josh Dallas. He had just started doing Once Upon a Time and stuff like that. So I feel like he had more character credit
Was he
than
was he
Prince Charming.
okay, was that Fandral?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And then you had Ray Stevenson playing the bigger guy.
Volstagg.
You had all these people that just had more street cred.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not significant acting street cred as like serious roles, but I didn't know how this guy was going to pull it off, no matter
Right.
what the script.
So
Yeah, see, he really didn't have anything. He had a part in Star Trek.
he was basically
George Kirk.
He was basically an unknown.
That
Yeah,
was-
but who knew that before this movie? You had to go back and
nobody.
watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only know that because I have IMDb pulled up right now, so because I wouldn't have remembered.
I forgot about
I'm
that too.
cheating.
I forgot that the two of the Chris's were in the same movie.
Oh yeah,
Pine.
But
Mm-hmm. So, Kyle, why don't you start going through the overview of Thor?
okay, so it kicks off in the beginning. It's showing the battle of Odin with the frost giants in Jotunheim. That portion is, I think, up to this point, I think for the entire series, is the earliest. Is like the earliest historical event. I guess you can say historical event in the entire Avengers series. That happens in 965 AD.
Mm-hmm.
You see Odin's battle. You're introduced to Laufey, who's the leader of the frost giants. The frost giants, Jotunheim, they're launching an attack. Their goal is to basically take over the 9 realms, and you get a little bit of a peek into that during this part of the storytelling. Odin and Asgardians are eventually victorious over this, and their spoils of the war that eventually makes its way to Odin's trophy room is the casket of ancient winters, which is there's something on the top of that. This is really important later on. They have that is the Tesseract on top, if I remember correctly. Which we find out later is
the
Infinity
Asgardians.
Stone.
It was the Asgardians' prize.
Yeah. After this battle, is where the falling out starts to happen with Thor. He's, great battle. He's full of himself. He's proud of himself. He's about to ascend to the throne, and then basically his, I don't know, is it his coronation? Would that be the word that we look for to ascend the frost giants attack Asgard? Which angers Thor. He's still. He's old, but he's young. He's a young old Asgardian, and he's still arrogant, and he's ready to retaliate, and so he collects his crew, which what are they called? They actually
Warriors 3.
Warriors 3.
Mm-hmm. That's Volstagg, Heimdall, or not Heimdall. Help me out here, BRob. Why can't I think of the name? Fandral. and
Andrew
Hogan
and Hogan
and Hogan
and
yeah,
Sif.
and Sif. Oh, Lady Sif. Oh.
And they go with they take Loki goes with them, and they go back to retaliate against Jotunheim. There's the battle. Odin intervenes, and
They're getting their asses beat.
yeah,
They're getting their asses handed to them.
Yep.
That's why this is important, because of Thor's pride, he bit off more than he can chew.
Yep.
Is what Kyle's going for too.
his hubris.
His hubris. Yep.
And up to that point, Asgard and Jotunheim had a truce. I could just kind of leave each other alone, and that broke the truce. And of course, Odin's pissed because Thor was acting arrogant and acting reckless, stripped him of his powers and tossed him back to Earth to basically live it out. And tossed Odin back, tossed Mjolnir to Earth, and you kind of have Meow Meow. So Meow Meow back to Earth, and
is it Meow Meow?
You have the Sword and the Stone type storyline kicking off from there.
BRob, anything to add to any of that? Like, what did you think?
No.
Like all this part, like what did you think about it?
I thought it was really well put together. I think they could have gone a little bit more into explaining a little bit more at that time, a little more of Odin's backstory, and really why that hatred was there. But no, I thought it was well done.
I agree.
I would have loved some more backstory here now. Going back, I don't know. I'm like you. I think
at the time I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I think it was an appropriate amount of time. But now knowing like what I know, I would have loved to have some more backstory then, and it may have got me a little bit more invested in it at the time instead of having to, research and wait for it. But
I mean, I wish you would have gone into a little more depth on the artifact itself, and then just some of the things like Odin. I know it's later on in the movie, but the Odin sleep and just certain things that you're just kind of, if you don't know any of the mythology, or you're just like, what the hell is this? Why is he sleeping? Those kind of things.
We had to take a lot of this movie at face value when it was presented to us. Like,
yep.
Okay, well, I guess this is what it is because they're telling us this is what it is. Like you said, you didn't get a whole lot of explanation of what was going on.
Well, and I feel like that's just the thing with the Thor movies, because I'm like, even to this day, we have no idea where Sif is.
No.
So there are just things that they're just these big plot holes that you're like, huh?
I mean, she appeared in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 2 episodes.
Right.
But then she's gone, like you said, she's completely gone now.
Yeah.
Although I have heard she's supposed to be back for 4.
Yeah, she's back.
Yeah, for
but
phase
the other 3,
for phase 4.
Yeah.
Love and Thunder.
I mean, I think if any of the movies deserved or really needed some more background explanation, it would have to be any of the run of the Thor movies that have anything to do with Asgard, because we can relate to all the stuff that happens on Earthrealm. It's a familiar physical location to us. If it was just a standalone movie completely on its own, it may have worked a little bit more without the explanation, but then you had this intermingling of a familiar world for us and one that's not so familiar. And I think that's where it leaves a lot of people kind of lacking, because it's hard to relate when you're meshing the two worlds without some type of explanation of how they're connected. You get a little bit with the Bifrost and stuff, but you don't really understand unless, like, you say, Chris, you've read a lot of the comics, you understand the whole 9 realms and the what's the name, is it the Tree of Life, and how everything's is the Tree of Life?
Yeah, it's the World Tree.
World Tree, there we go. And how everything's connected. And
Yusagdril? I don't know how to pronounce it.
Fancy that one up.
Your friend. Meow Meow.
Meow Meow.
Meow Meow.
Meow Meow.
So that's why, expanding on what you're saying, Kyle, I think this is what's going to be really tough for Phase 4 right now for Marvel, is because we are familiar with all the Earth settings. Phase 4 is the cosmic setting.
Shit's about to get weird.
Shit's about to get weird. And we've delved a little bit into the cosmic setting, like with Captain Marvel a little bit.
Mhm.
A little bit with, a lot with Guardians of the Galaxy, a little bit with Avengers, but I think that they're really going to have to step up their game to make it relatable, just like they had trouble relating to us further down the line now in Thor. I think they're really going to have to try and step up the game to make it relatable.
Guardians did a good job with it, though, because it was such a fun movie. Like, that was a good movie, standalone. Like, you could have just watched Guardians and been good. If you, it worked well standalone. I don't think Thor would have worked really well as just a standalone if that was the only one that you watched. It was really a tie-in piece, I think.
I feel like in all the other ones, Guardians, Iron Man, I feel like the relationships and the explanation of how people felt about each other and worked together and stuff like that, I felt it was very, very well done. In Thor, I didn't feel like that, because even into Endgame, or when he's talking about when Thanos kills Heimdall, it's like, you only killed my best friend. At what point were they ever best friends? That nowhere in any of these movies is there that kind of connection in a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's like they're just comrades at arms to me. I never knew there was. So I just don't feel like it's very well brought out to the audience.
Not fleshed out. Kyle, there was a little topless boy there we saw in frame for a sec. Pay no attention.
Pay no attention to the child.
Watching the video.
Yeah. He's fine.
Do we need to stop for a sec?
No, he was just needing to. He comes running in in his Star Wars underwear with a juice that needed opened.
Just like his daddy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. At least he's wearing underwear. So
at least, hey, I ain't mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
BRob, you actually brought up this, so let's talk about Heimdall for a sec. Heimdall is extremely pissed off because Heimdall is the guardian of Asgard. This is very important. He's the keeper of the Bifrost. He's the guy who allows them to travel between worlds. Why I want to bring this up is because this was played by you guys have to help me pronounce his name. I can never pronounce
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Why was this such a big controversy? Because it mostly from the fanboys, and I'm not just talking just Marvel fanboys, I'm talking fanboys of Norse mythology. Heimdall is described as the fairest of the fair. This became a huge contention point for fanboys. I thought he did a good job as Heimdall. He hated the part. He said he would have never done it again. He's been on record saying that.
Really? Yeah. I thought he was great.
I think he changed his mind down the line, but he said how much he just hated doing this part. But it was just such a big. This just shows to me how toxic fanboys are and the whole online community is, because they rallied against the casting because he's black. So what? I loved him. I thought he did great, but yeah, their point was Heimdall is described as the fairest of the fair. He sees all. His eyes can see everything.
He's like Santa Claus.
He is like Santa.
He's the Santa Claus of Asgard.
He really is, with a sword, a giant sword.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
So I mean, what did you
like? I didn't. Okay, so I came into it not knowing, that background of it from the comics, and so I went into it completely blind. Like, okay, I thought he played it awesome. He was a very intriguing character to me because he didn't have a ton of screen time, but you could tell the importance of this character just from how he was portrayed on the screen, and then I thought he played him really well. Really, That's the part that needed someone that could be stoic and pretty much monotone and still deliver emotion with that type of tone. And I thought he did it well.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't much to him in this movie, obviously, and I thought he did an amazing job. And for God's sake, wasn't he like people's sexiest man in the world at one point? So fairest to the fair. I mean,
this last year,
yeah.
sexiest man, people's sexiest man alive. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I never have a problem. If the actor can get it done, the actor can get it done. And, you know, like I've referenced in another podcast we did, you know, the Jack Reacher character, Tom Cruise. I mean, if the actor can do it, I don't care what he looks like. If he can pull off the persona and the intent of the character, that is all I truly care about. So
well,
my issues come when there's so many liberties taken and you start making the character do things they didn't do and things like that. It's generally not the actor themselves.
Right. Well, it's like the casting of Candace Patton in as Iris West in the Flash TV show. She's black, so the fanboys took a big issue with it. It's not even with their acting. She's phenomenal. But it's getting to the source material, I think, that a lot of people have a problem with. And I don't even think so much that it's because they're one race or another. I think it's because it's the source material. And comic book, you know, just fanboys in general can be super toxic.
Yeah.
And that's actually going to be another episode we're going to talk about, is just the toxicity of the nerd world. Online, you know, fan bases. We're going to talk about that. But
and it's gotten so much worse over the years too. The anonymity of the internet and yeah,
you don't want to mess with the internet.
Yeah, we're turning on our own kind now. Like we used to have to be in dark corners.
We eat our own,
arguing with each other. Now you can argue over the reaches of the world, and
as a keyboard warrior. So, continue, sir.
So,
go ahead.
So I guess I was going to ask, did you guys know? I guess probably this is more Chris because you had more of the backstory than Kyle. But were there better villains to start off this one?
100%. 100%. Thor has such a cast of villains. Like you've got like the Enchantress, who's a great villain. You've got as I believe it's Ulk. He's the troll. He's one of the trolls that are major villains. Like there is so much you could have done in this one. But I mean, it depends on who you think the villain is in this one too. You know?
Right.
Because that could be debatable. Are the villains S.H.I.E.L.D.? Are the villains Loki? Are the villains the Frost Giants? I mean, in the end, I think it's debatable, but, you know, ultimately Loki's been established as the villain,
right,
with the Destroyer armor. But is he actually the villain, or is he like the tragic villain?
Or is the true villain Thor's arrogance? Is that your real
Things
antagonist?
To think about.
Think about that.
Real antagonist. Hold
on.
You could be right there. But yeah, no, I think they could have picked a better villain, but I see why they went with the Loki angle, because they were kind of had to for the end of phase 1.
Well, and I was just thinking more of like, I feel like they could have, if they could have done the Enchantress and the Executioner, and then be henchmen for like Loki, and then leave kind of the Frost Giant part out of it.
Right.
But then you don't have that me hating him at the beginning because he's pretty much leaving his friends to die almost.
Right.
So
I mean,
I don't know. I think it goes both ways.
You guys know it from the comics. Is it that crucial? The Frost Giant story is that canon, and is that part that crucial to the downfall of Thor through the run of comics to set him up like he needed to be set up to be one of the Avengers and kind of the That's a
I think that I know what you're trying to
Yeah.
get at. I think that they had to, the way that Kenneth set this movie up, you had to have the Frost Giants angle in order to make this movie work. If we wouldn't have had that there, you wouldn't have had the downfall of Thor. You wouldn't have had Loki's anger, finding out he's adopted, basically.
Mm.
Not even adopted, stolen. A pawn. And we'll get to that later on this. But I
You're
think
not my
without
real
that-
all father.
You're not all bastard.
Run that joke into the ground before this is over.
Yeah, we will. But I think if they wouldn't have had that angle, I don't think the movie would have worked at all. Just my
Yeah.
opinion.
I agree. I don't think, because he has to have this prove himself at all costs. And without the Frost Giants, you'd have to put some other race or something there to be that motivator to kind of push him off the edge to get banished. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that.
It's his like we said, it's his redemption story, and there's a pattern in these movies leading up to the Avengers. I mean, Tony Stark had his redemption story in one. Thor's having his redemption story. When we get to Captain America, it's a different line to it, but it's still a redemption story for him in a building up that character. So there's a lot of this going on leading up to the Avengers in Phase 1. There's still a lot of that going on after Phase 1 and Phase 2 and stuff, that as you're getting introduced to these characters, there's a common theme of some type of redemption for them or some type of growing. So I guess the redemption story for Thor is, yeah, it would be vital in this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so I believe in you guys in our Discord, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Thor's first villain in his first comic appearance was actually the Rockmen. I forget what they were called. In Ragnarok, his buddy that he fights with in the Colosseum, the rock guy.
Korg.
Korg. Yeah, thank you. Korg. I couldn't remember his name. His race was the first people that Thor fought in the comics. I mean, that could have even been the first villains that you could have brought into this. But again, if they wouldn't have had this story, I don't think the movie would have worked. So we beat that all father into the ground. So let's move on.
I'll take every opportunity I get through this to make a joke. So.
Do it. Okay.
Where were we? Has Thor made it to Earth yet?
So he had just been cast out, but you need to go over what the most important part was for when he cast Thor out, what Odin did.
Yeah, he stripped him of all his might and powers. He made him mortal when he came to Earth. And
then he grabbed his hammer.
Grabbed his hammer. There's so many mythology still in the movie runs deep, and like we're talking about the prodigal son story, the similarities to the whole sword and the stone, and I don't know who borrowed from who. Probably most of those were borrowed from Norse mythology anyway. But so many, now that I go back and think about it, things that are just retold in a new fashion that work in this movie.
Right. And then Odin grabbed the hammer because he took Meow Meow from Thor. And do you remember what he said?
What did he say?
Whosoever holds this hammer
shall have the power of Thor.
Yep. So which means that did he say be he worthy? Is that in there too?
Yeah, there is a worthy in there.
Whoever holds
I'm watching it right now.
Oh, yeah. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Something like that. Somewhere around there. I think that's it. But that's very, very important. That just shows, if you're worthy to be the guardian of the 9 realms, which is what Thor is supposed to have been. So continue, sir.
So that's where basically he was cast to Earth. And I believe at this point we're introduced to Jane and Darcy. It's well known on here that we love Darcy.
We do love Darcy.
We friggin' love Darcy. And Dr. or Professor Selvig?
I think he's Doctor.
Doctor?
Doctor.
Doctor.
Dr. Selvig. We're introduced to them because when the hammer...
And Jane's a doctor too, I believe.
Jane is. Darcy's not at this point. She's still...
No, she's an intern.
Yeah. The
intern at university.
Mm-hmm. University intern Darcy.
Yep.
So they're called to where was this at? Where the hammer landed?
New Mexico, wasn't it?
New Mexico. To
deserts in New Mexico.
Basically, they got word, and were they called to? Were they assigned to investigate, or did they go on their own?
They were investigating some abnormalities out there, and they were debating. This is the very beginning of the movie too, and then after Thor gets cast out, it cuts back to where we left off at the beginning. Then they see basically the Bifrost hitting in the distance.
Okay. And that's when
and so they go to check it out. And while it's happening, they've got their instruments going too the whole time.
And does it cut back at that point to Odin going to the Odin sleep, or there was some development there though on Earth?
There was. I don't remember that part.
Yeah, there's where like Loki asked him a bunch of questions about, that artifact's not all you took from Jotunheim, and then he falls into the Odin sleep, and then it reverts back to Earth where they're basically right before they take him to go get breakfast or whatever.
That's right, with a naked Thor. And by the way, thank you, Chris Hemsworth, for putting this half naked you in peak human condition on the screen, which I will get nowhere close to achieving.
Well, at that point, that's not really all he had.
That's
He
true.
hadn't proven himself yet.
You keep riding that bike, you'll get there, buddy. I have faith.
Thanks, buddy.
Right.
Yay, Peloton. Peloton, if you want to sponsor us, we will keep saying your name.
Peloton may only want to sponsor the audio version of this podcast and maybe not necessarily the video version of this podcast.
They're like, look at these three. Do we want to sponsor them?
Sponsor them, and
just
sales
the
went
audio.
down. I don't know what happened. They sure sound like they could be in shape. But, oh, God. Turn off the YouTubes. That guy on the bottom, he hasn't blinked in 2 hours. I don't know what.
And he keeps smiling, too. I don't know what's wrong.
He's in a permanent state of cheers.
He's our norm.
You should aspire to be that guy.
We should aspire to be that guy. Yim Reach, you should aspire to be this guy.
Oh, I got some things I can say to Yim Reach.
He's just going to be thrilled that he's being mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, go on.
This is where we're introduced to the Odin sleep, but we're not terribly explained. Like, it wasn't really explained much. Like, oh, he's asleep. So I don't remember it explaining that this is him basically going back to his charging dock. Like,
It didn't.
No, it's just like, oh, like, I kind of took it as like, oh, he's in a coma, that's kind of what it seemed. It wasn't, he's recharging ye old batteries. But that's really what, if I understand right, that's what the Odin sleep is. Like, he kind of gets drained of his powers and what he's able to do, and he has to go into this long, uninterrupted sleep to be able to come back to his full strength. Is that a good interpretation of it? You guys that know more?
That's 100%. So it's,
Yep.
I think that Kenneth expected everyone to know what the Odin sleep was based off of mythology, Norse mythology. I think I could be totally off base. Just reaching out into left field on this one. but I think that's what he thought. That's why they didn't delve deeper into explaining what the Odin sleep was, because just knowing that he's classically trained and he does a lot of these historical pieces that I think he just kind of expected everyone to know.
Yeah, and I didn't really know until recently, and this is what we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this would have been easy to find out if I had just done some research, but that's how I always took it. Is like he just that kind of classical. The king falls into a coma, shtick, if you will.
Yep.
And then Loki jumps all over this opportunity.
Loki is opportunistic, to say the least. So for those who don't know, we said Thor is the Prince of Power. He's no, that's Hercules. Thor is the god
a lot
of
of
thunder.
similarities.
Again, yeah, 100%. But Loki is the trickster god. He's the god of, was it magic and mischief?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Some of Loki's backstory, which is really interesting, is that the wolf Fenrir is actually Loki's kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then was it because Loki didn't care who he mated with? Like one of his kids was Odin's six-legged horse, I believe. Or did he mate with the six-legged horse and that's what created Fenrir? I can't remember. But Loki had sex with a horse.
He's gender and species fluid.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's the best way to put it.
Wait, so Fenrir was the
fluid.
Was the wolf?
Yep, the wolf that brought about Ragnarok.
So he banged a horse and made a wolf.
I think it was he banged the horse, or one of the six-legged horses. Like he had sex with like an eight-legged horse, and Odin's six-legged horse was like his son or daughter or something like that.
Well, that genetically makes sense that a wolf would come from that. Okay.
So, but I mean, that's one of Loki's kids. Loki had a lot of kids, but he's the trickster god.
He was promiscuous.
He was promiscuous. Loki was about misdirection, and apparently being promiscuous.
The god of mischief and frequent trips to the Asgard clinic for checking things out. So,
So the wolf is the son of Loki and a giantess.
Okay, that was it.
That also makes sense. Okay.
But then, Loki had a lot of kids. Like I said, mostly a lot of sex with animals, which apparently was acceptable at the time.
This is appropriate that he's really well known for his staff that he
that he touches people with.
Just walk around poking everything.
Forgeticus.
Yeah.
The Harry Potter spell Forgeticus. So okay.
Do you think they had like an Asgardian version of Jerry Springer where Loki would just sit in there?
You are not the father.
You are not the all father.
That's Maury.
Yeah.
Springer, and then Thor starts throwing chairs around.
Heimdall's the security in the back, just standing there with his arms crossed, ready to pull everybody apart.
I will say, if you're interested in like the Norse stuff,
Which
a good like book series to read that I kind of got into was the Magnus Chase series. It's kind of like the Percy Jackson series, but Norse. It's interesting. It gives a lot of backstory on some of the stuff that I didn't know, that without having to dive super deep into the old school myths. It's more of like this day and age explanation.
Really? Is that by Rick
Riordan? Yeah.
Riordan, yeah. Okay, the guy who wrote Percy Jackson and the Egyptian one too. What was
the
that?
Kane Chronicles? Yep.
Those are all fantastic.
All those are amazing.
So I need to
group
put the
message, so I'll remember, because I'll forget by the time we get off here, and I'm going to want to read that.
Because I want to read that. What did you say, Magnus Chase? I'm kind of interested in that too.
I think it's 5 books.
I'm gonna have to check that out now.
Yeah,
because I love the other two, the Kane Chronicles and the Percy Jackson. Those are all great.
Yeah, I want to get more into the 9 realms and the world tree and how all that ties together.
Those might be good series to go over on episodes too.
It's gonna be a lot of reading.
Yeah, as long as we talk about the books, not the movies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll have to talk about both, unfortunately.
Damn you, Ang Lee.
Percy Jackson. Damn you, Ang Lee. Percy Jackson, Kane Chronicles. I'm writing them down right now. Okay, go ahead, Kyle.
Where were we? We were on Asgard Moripovich.
Ask sex with beast like you do.
Oh yeah, Loki tried to seize on this opportunity. Got Lofty to invade. Did he get him to invade Asgard? I know he told him like this is his opportunity to kill Odin because Odin's in.
Yeah, he
Odin's
snuck him in.
Yeah. And
why was that important? Like, what part did that play? How they got in?
was this was after he found out he was adopted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Odin told him before he fell into the Odin sleep, I believe, that he found him. He took him from Jotunheim.
Mm-hmm. And he's the son of.
Was he Laufey's son?
Laufey's son.
I think the previous king. I think.
I thought it was Laufey. You might be right.
I don't know.
I don't know. He's a prince. Loki is a frost giant prince, regardless.
He's pretty short for a
Irregardless.
frost giant.
Right.
Oh yeah, because apparently his biological name is Loki Laufey's son. So I'm going to assume that Laufey was his. Just based off of that. Based off of that, I want to assume he was Laufey's son. Getting off track. See where we were. Yeah, it gives him the chance to give Laufey the chance to kill Odin, and know that the Warriors 3 go back to get Thor, but I can't remember if. Okay, he didn't kill Laufey at that point. But the Warriors 3 travel to Earth to retrieve Thor. So you have all these Asgardians in New Mexico.
Because they begged Loki to rescind Thor's banishment.
Yeah.
And he refused because Loki was part of their little group, marauding group too.
This was Loki's chance to seize the throne, which was his true end game for all this. He's for a bet, he's
opportunistic.
He's a very opportunistic and has some pretty well thought out plans. Like he's scheming. He's scheming a lot. Like I love Loki as a character. He's by far one of my favorites.
Played by Tom Hiddleston, which we'll go into the cast here in a little bit. But I couldn't have thought of a more perfect person to play Loki personally.
It's great.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. You can't. I mean, that's what we were talking about on these Marvel castings. Is like when you really think about it, is there anybody that could do a better job? And that's why I think we don't see many recasts.
Yep.
In major characters.
Yeah, except in the Thor movies.
Right.
So, continue, sir.
So yeah, the group goes to retrieve Thor. They convince Heimdall to let them use the Bifrost, or did he willingly? They had to convince him, I believe.
He went on break. He said he can't go against. He said, I cannot go against the wishes of the king.
My king. Yeah.
My king. And then he walked off. He went on break. He went on coffee break.
Yep.
And he kind of, if you remember, he kind of smirked as he did it too.
Yeah, that might have been the selling point where I really liked Heimdall.
Well, and Heimdall was really concerned that he didn't see, if you remember, he said, I see all, but I did not see the frost giants come in.
And I didn't see you while you were in Jotunheim.
Yep. Which is a very, very, remember that point.
So what do we have here? So they go to retrieve Thor. There's some reconnect shenanigans and things that kind of happen. And then that kind of leads up to the big battle where Loki sends in the destroyer. How did he get the destroyer there? That's what I'm trying to remember.
He sent it by the Bifrost, but I mean, I think it only takes orders from the king.
The king. Yeah, it only takes orders from the king, and he ordered it to go kill Thor.
Right, but how did it pass to did Heimdall? I don't remember the transition of it. It just showed up, if I remember right.
Yeah, it just showed up. It showed up via the Bifrost, so Heimdall had to have
allowed it to happen.
made it go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he couldn't stop it if Loki
it was an order from the king.
Order from the king. Yep. And I remember
at that point, is Heimdall frozen?
Yeah, because he that's what was he?
I'm pretty sure.
Was that?
Oh yeah,
one?
yeah.
Oh.
No, because because he said, I didn't see you, and then all of a sudden, Laffy showed up with some of his goons, and that's when Loki's like, "Welcome to Asgard." And Heimdall went to attack him, and that's when they Loki froze him.
Okay.
Did they show up? I can't remember, but Loki froze him. Remember, and then that's when we see Loki's skin go completely blue. This is the second time we've seen Loki's skin go blue.
Did he go when did he turn blue? Before?
When he first turned blue, it was when they went to invade Jotunheim.
Okay.
And one of the
giant
frost giants
touched him.
Yeah, had Loki down on the ground and touched Loki, and Loki's skin just started going blue.
And then the second time is when right before he confronted Odin, when he picked up the cask, he turned blue.
So I guess this would have been number 3. Yeah, this would have been 3.
I remember when the destroyer showed up. So it lands, it comes through, and you get this giant metal. And
coolest damn armor ever.
It looked awesome. And I immediately thought of, even then, of the Sentinels from X-Men. That's what that thing reminded me of so much.
Yeah.
And going back
and more so the Sentinels from Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Those Sentinels.
Is just recently watching that.
The Nimrods.
The way they attacked with the fiery plasma blast things from their maw opening up. That is so much like, I don't know which one borrowed from the other. If it's just if you're gonna have a giant metal thing killing stuff, that's probably about the best way you can do it. So it may be just a common thing, but yeah, that.
When you gotta remember.
Oh, go ahead.
When did I completely agree with that, but this just hit me too. When did Thor realize he was unworthy? Was it before the Warriors 3 got to Earth? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He broke into the shield facility.
Yes.
It was like right after he
Oh, that's right.
had breakfast and all that stuff, and then he realized where everything was. He goes there. That's where we first see Clint Barton.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's kind of an Easter egg, because they said what was the line Coulson said? I need an eye in the sky. And then instead of grabbing a gun, this person grabbed a bow.
Yeah.
Yep.
For some reason, I thought it was in this movie where Selvig, and it couldn't have been, I guess, where it says the Hawk's watching me or something like that.
The Hawk's in his nest. That was Avengers.
That was Avengers.
Yeah,
okay.
that was the beginning of Avengers when he said, "Where's the Hawk?"
I do remember
he's in his
the
nest.
Barton and seeing the bow, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know who that is."
Yep. Which was awesome. Which Hawkeye's not. He's been a steady Avenger. He's not one of the most popular ones, but I think Rainier did an awesome job with him.
Yeah, I think the movies probably made him a lot.
Did you just
more
call
popular.
him Rainier?
Rainier. It's fancy.
You churching him up again?
Yep. Just because I can almost see BRob cringing.
I don't even see. He's not even flinching to me, but
No, man, look at that.
Fast.
Just stoic.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to bring some self-respect to this show.
Not gonna be us two up here on top. So
Nope, not at all. Continue. So okay. Well, before we get to the worst thing, so Thor breaks into the shield facility, and literally takes down half of the facility, them trying to stop him. Running through there, and then he gets to this huge guy who actually knocks him off his feet, which would not have been possible had he not been mortal. That's important to note too. He gets to Meow Meow and tries to pick it up and can't even, it doesn't even budge. And then, you know, that's when he's down on his knees, it's raining, and he just completely loses all hope. He realizes that he is unworthy. He is not worthy of the hammer. And if you guys don't know why we're calling it Meow Meow, that's what Darcy calls it when they're discussing it. And I just love it how she calls it Meow Meow. So, okay, now we're at the Warriors 3.
With Warriors 3, so they make it back. They make it to Earth. I'll go back to my notes here. So I can't ever remember anything. Let's see. They informed Thor of what's happening. They're trying to retrieve him and bring him back. This is back before the Destroyer shows up. We're kind of jumping back and forth a little bit. I still just had that mental image of them. Were they walking down the street? And it just looked like a.
Yeah, the
like
agents on the roof say something about a Renaissance fair.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then they find Thor and explain to him, you know, we're here to take you home. I can't go home. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all that.
And
And then we get to the part where Heimdall confronts Loki about how he snuck people in. Loki explains to him, you know, hey, there are ways in and out that you don't even know. And then fires him pretty much. And then that's where Heimdall gets froze when he attacks Loki.
I forgot about Loki's talking about the secret ways in and out that are basically only known to him.
And then the Destroyer's fixing to show up.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
That
Thank
was
you for getting us back on track.
Yep. That was a great battle scene too, though. For
oh my gosh,
just the sound of the sword. Okay, so the Destroyer does it does show up in the comics, right? Like it is something there. Does it ever explain the source of its power? What it is that allows it to be able to basically be a walking Viking laser?
I think it's. I don't remember off the top of my head because the Destroyer wasn't. I mean, it was a big villain, but it's not like one that's like every year they bring it back, like Enchantress or someone. I want to say it was like some sort of magical like lava in there. If you keep talking, I will look that up.
But it was, let's see, Loki free. Did Loki have the Destroyer, or was the Destroyer kept in Odin's, basically his trophy room?
It was like a sentinel, like guarding the treasure.
Okay.
Guarding the palace, whatever.
It's basically like a non-sentient. It was just, it did as it was ordered, pretty much. But yeah, that thing looks so cool, man. I just.
So it's an enchanted suit of armor forged by by Odin himself.
Oh, okay. So it was not originally it was a repurposed.
It's animated by the life force of sentient living beings.
I'll buy that.
So basically, unless something's around,
it doesn't do anything. It's
deactivated. So it's activated by living things.
Its vision is based on movement. Basically, it's a Viking fire breathing T-Rex.
Yeah, I like that.
We'll go with that.
So we'll go with that.
But yeah, that battle scene was what I'm talking about. That was really well shot. There was good action in that, and it gives Thor a chance to redeem himself. They're basically, kind of pinned down, can't get away, and he goes to I know he goes to sacrifice himself. I don't remember exactly how it happened.
I think he's protecting Jane.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wov, true Wov.
Who was Marriage?
It's the reason.
And so that that's his redemption point. Is he apparently he needed to learn some self-sacrifice to the greatest extent ever, and that's what he did. And he becomes worthy again to wield the hammer. He becomes full on Thor again, and turns back into ass kicking Thor that we've grown to love over the last movie. So he retrieves his hammer and proceeds to just to kick ass.
Mm-hmm. Gets his armor back. Gets his basically gets his divine powers back.
Yeah, and so he's back to godlike. Wins the battle. And is it while this was going on or after the battle that Loki kills Laufey? Is it? I can't remember if it's a cut back and forth, like the scenes cut back and forth, or if it's after that.
That was before.
That was before the battle.
Yeah, that was when. Yeah, that was when he showed up to kill Odin in his Odin sleep. So that was back toward the middle of the movie, I think.
Yep,
Yeah.
which will show that Loki will do anything to get ahead.
Right. So Loki uses the invasion as an excuse to destroy the Bifrost, which I think is a twofold thing. One, to keep Odin or to keep Thor stranded. Loki's evil, but once he found out about his true heritage, he still wanted the approval of Odin. Like he was still really seeking, Loki's got daddy issues.
He does have daddy issues.
He's got some severe daddy issues, and that was a lot of his, his
driving force.
His main thing was to, assume ultimate power, but he still wanted the approval of his father.
Yep. So, okay. So, what part are we on now?
We jumped around a little bit.
Yeah, we jumped around a lot.
No, Thor returns. Odin awakens.
Yep.
And I know there's the scene where they're like hanging off the edge of Asgard. And Odin's back. Odin's in his pretty sweet armor and I remember Loki hanging off the edge. I don't remember what led up to that though.
Basically, Loki put Odin's staff into Heimdall's little sanctuary, and he was going to destroy Jotunheim with the Bifrost.
Yeah.
Make the Bifrost overload. And Thor goes back to confront him to stop him, and so Thor comes up with the plan to destroy the Bifrost to stop this from happening. He ends up destroying the Bifrost. Because Loki's trying to appeal to him. He's like, "You'll never be able to see her again if you do this." And Thor's like, "You know what? Fuck you." Bam, destroys it, and then that's when they have the little brotherly moment when Loki tries to confront Thor. Appeal to his senses, and then but ultimately betrays him. So the typical Loki, MO.
And so let's see. I still have a big blank in there. I remember Odin hanging on to Loki's hand. So that was, I guess, post their conflict. And basically, like Loki's dangling over the cosmic abyss below him, and there was an exchange there. And instead of like Loki didn't slip, Loki like let go. Just like nope, and falls into the abyss. Which was a really cool scene. That kind of carried over. There's some post credits that you really see what happened with Loki and some of his ulterior motives. Still, like he said, I think his ulterior motives have ulterior motives.
Loki is always scheming.
Yeah.
Loki.
He's always a couple of steps ahead.
Mm-hmm. And that's
always
his
got a
thing. He's
plan.
smart. Yeah. He's
Oh, yeah.
smart. His backups have backups. So,
What I don't remember
Okay.
if it explains, because I know we're still kind of jumping around a little bit, but in the post credits we do see Loki kind of reemerge after falling into the abyss. But how did he get? Does it explain in this or later how he went from falling off of literally having a falling out at Asgard into the cosmic abyss to making it back to Earth?
Well,
Is-
so I think that was just like a astral projection. I mean, it was just him showing himself, kind of like how he did, like when Thor was in that jail cell. He wasn't actually there. It was just like a projection, almost like Doctor Strange-esque almost.
Mhm.
So I think he was the idea, if I piece it together right, is when he fell, he ended up where the Chitauri were, and then that's kind of where he is when he's starting to get the rest of it, start getting his strings pulled by Thanos.
Right.
Okay.
So that's basically in the movie. We'll go through the cast real quick. So you have Chris Hemsworth, who was Thor. Hemsworth is important to note. This is his first major film, and he was only 25 at the time. He was originally going to be, they dropped him. They didn't want him to be Thor at first, and then he was given a second chance. And I think they did well on that because he's the perfect Thor. He really is. He referenced the comics a lot. For if you look at the poses that Thor does, especially in the fighting styles, they match up with the comics. So he did his homework for this, which I applaud for that.
Let's see who else was on.
Natalie Portman is Jane. You know,
Stellan, was it Stellan Skarsgård, Selvig, Kat Dennings is Darcy.
Yep.
Anthony Hopkins is Odin. Rene Russo is Frigga.
Right. We went through, you know, who we remembered as the Warriors 3.
Right.
Coulson, Clark Gregg, which we'll get to this in a sec too. Fury, Samuel L. Jackson.
Who's the other? Ask you this question.
Mhm.
Who's the other just random person that's not Coulson that's appeared in just about every Marvel movie that we see in here, even if it's just for a few seconds?
This is one of those that I'm gonna know, and it's just gonna kick me right in the balls.
Are you
when I
talking
think
about
it, isn't it?
actual character that's steady through there, or the
Mhm.
cameo? Okay.
No, it's an actual character.
It's an actual character through every Marvel movie.
I'm pretty sure he's in just about every one of them.
Not Coulson.
It's not Eric. I don't know. You got me
Casper
stumped on that one.
Sitwell.
Who's he play?
No, that's the character.
The character?
He's Hydra, the bald.
Oh, that's right. That's the bald dude. That's right. He's in just about every single one. That's right, because he was inside the main Shield Center when Thor
Mhm.
broke in. Jasper, that's right. That's right. Good one.
That's a point for the pictured man.
Yeah.
Good job.
Take that, Ian Reach.
I was looking
I
at,
forgot about that.
you know, we were talking about Hemsworth like getting the second chance. Apparently it was his younger brother was Liam was on the short list
Really?
to play Thor. Yeah. He was on the director's short list to star as Thor, but then, you know, he got the second audition and got a little push from Joss and
On that.
won it over. I was just trying to see who else was.
So, fun fact about Chris Hemsworth right now, I was reading about, we'll get more about this as Phase 4 rolls more into it too. but I guess his stunt double is having trouble keeping up with his physique right now for Phase 4, because he's filming. He also filmed the Hulk Hogan movie for Netflix
Right.
at the same time, so he is just massive right now. If you haven't seen him, go Google him. It is just like the dude is massive right now, like pushing a tire, getting in shape. And his stunt double said, "I'm having trouble keeping up with his physique right now."
Oh, here we go. I found the short list of people that auditioned for Thor. This is actually pretty interesting. Charlie Hunnam auditioned for it, which I don't think he could have kept up with the bulky. Like, he would have been cool. He would have been an awesome Thor.
I don't know who is that.
He was
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons
He
of
played
Anarchy.
Jax.
Played
Oh,
Jax
okay,
Teller on Sons of Anarchy. Like, I think he facially had
I've
the
never
look for it.
watched that show.
Ooh,
Yeah.
son.
Ooh.
I've
Homework.
never seen it. Yeah, that's my homework.
I'm assigning you some homework now. How the turns have tabled.
Yeah. How the turns have tabled. I'll table that.
Charlie Hunnam would have, I think, like, his look physically would have been good. I don't think he was bulky enough to be Thor, because Thor just needs to be a big dude, and Hemsworth pulled it off. Alexander Skarsgård was on the list. Channing Tatum, Joel Kinnaman. I don't know who that is.
Thank God Channing Tatum didn't get it.
Also, that someone else that auditioned for this, so you guys like this, was Paul Levesque. You know who he's better known as? H.
Who? Oh, Triple H. Yeah.
Yeah, but they said his acting chops weren't up to snuff.
Oh, that would have been awful.
That would have been terrible.
That would have been terrible, because he's a wrestling actor. You know, not to knock him.
Well,
That's a whole different. But I guess we did get some wrestlers later on. But
yeah.
You
Well,
would
I
have
mean,
had
No,
the
but those
look.
guys that
Rock.
succeed in pro wrestling to be actors are like what I feel like the guys that don't have scripted promos.
The Rock,
Mhm.
Cena,
Stone Cold. I mean,
Stone Cold.
those are
yeah.
guys like, I mean, I think Batista probably had some of his scripted but I say that, but some of the best lines that came in Guardian of the Galaxy were unscripted that he just
Yep.
did and they kept. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, Triple H, I
No.
just can't see him being that
And-
quick.
And can you imagine him in Love and Thunder right now too? Like, Triple H is old now.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
He's-
have worked.
Right.
Okay. Stellan Skarsgård, from a very famous acting family, which we mentioned. Alexander is one of his sons, who was also was it Eric?
Eric Northman. Yeah.
Yeah, in what was it?
True
True
Blood.
Blood. Yeah, which I think is funny how he was Eric and his father played Eric in the movie. And then, do you know who their other brother is? That's pretty famous too. You know this too. I know you
it.
know this.
I'm cheating and Googling it because I won't be able to think of it fast enough.
BRob, do you know?
I don't.
Bill, or It.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Pennywise. Yep.
Yep. He is a Skarsgård. So let's get into the Easter eggs.
Okay.
So one of the biggest Easter eggs that there is that was just found this year. It's taken 10 years. When Meow Meow makes impact, if you look at it, when the scientists are looking at it, it actually makes the Avengers A complete with the circle. It's taken 10 years to figure that out, but it's there. So now you guys are all going to go Google this, but it's there.
I
Which
saw
I
the
thought was
article on
really,
that
really cool.
the other day.
Let's see. What else did I have?
Donald
Yes.
Blake.
Yep. Go on the Donald Blake.
So that when he was in the comic books, when he was cast out, that was the persona he took over, was Donald Blake. And then in this one, it's just referenced as Jane's ex.
Donald Blake, MD. And that was actually a big thing because Donald Blake, you come to find out, was basically tortured when he traded places with Thor. It's not like they just took over, or he went into like Thor went into like an Odin sleep, but Blake went into like this nothingness and was basically psychologically tortured. Like that's the Thor story backstory. Oh yeah, the scene where they're trying to pull Thor's hammer out of the ground, and they attach it to the truck. The guy who tries to pull it out, whose truck it is none other than
Stan Lee himself.
Stan Lee himself. That was
Yeah.
his.
Stanley.
That was his cameo.
Did do you get a shot of? Does it show the truck's license plate when that happens?
I don't remember.
I
What did
remember.
it say?
Well, I don't know. I remember one of his cameos. You could see the license. It was another one where he was in a vehicle. And you can see the license plate, and I think it said Excelsior. It was like a version of
That
Excelsior.
was wasn't that Guardians 2 when he was driving past the military base?
He was kind of like hippie-ish.
I want to say that was Guardians 2.
Remember, he was in a
Or,
car
like, when
and he
he
had
was
like
yelling,
a couple of women with him.
Don't tread on me, man.
Yeah, it's
that
like
one?
make love, not war kind of.
Or he
thing.
did 2 of those, didn't he? I don't remember. BRob, do you remember any of that?
Oh, I know he's on Xandar in the first Guardians he's like the ladies' man. Because I have that Funko bobblehead.
Right.
Um,
Damn it! No.
this
We
one,
got
I remember him being in the truck.
Looking here, yeah, I see him in the truck, but I don't think it shows. I think it's just him driving.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I don't think I was just thinking about that because I knew he was in a vehicle and another one. There was a thing on the license plate. Thing about the license
We
plate.
need to look at that. There's a billboard in town. As Thor lands, advertising vacation with the slogan "Journey into Mystery." That's a reference to Thor's first comic, which was Journey into Mystery number 83. During the attack by the Frost Giants on the weapons vault, just before the second giant is killed by the Destroyer, there is a brief glimpse of one of the items in the weapons vault, and that is none other than the Infinity Gauntlet that Thanos wears.
That always confused me, though.
How it was there, but it was.
But E-Tree makes it.
Yeah, I
So,
think.
I mean,
I don't
maybe
think
it was
that
the
was ever.
second one.
I don't think that was ever addressed in canon.
Right.
I was thinking that too, but it's there, unless
Right.
Thor takes place before he meets E-Tree, and that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
After the credits, Nick Fury appears and approaches Dr. Selvig and shows him a case containing a cube with possible unlimited power. And it's the Cosmic Cube, and we know that ends up being the Tesseract. And then, do you guys remember this was the introduction of the Tesseract 2, where they actually called it by name. Well, they didn't call it the Tesseract at this point yet. And then it was the part that had the most foreshadowing to me was at the end when Loki appears in the mirror, and he is just, you could tell he's rough right now from being beaten.
Yeah.
Because he had like smut all over him and his hair was all over the place. And Fury's explaining to Eric about the Tesseract, saying it's the unlimited power, and then Loki whispers, well, I guess that's worth a look. And then Eric whispers that same line right after him, which means we know Loki has taken control of Eric at this point, or is at least influencing him. So I just thought those were interesting. That was the Easter eggs I found. What did you guys, do you all have any more?
The only one I really have is the name of the town in New Mexico where all this was taking place. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of it because I don't think they ever actually say it in the movies. Puente Antiguo, which is translates to ancient bridge.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Go for the Bifrost angle.
The Bifrost.
Mhm.
So, and that's it with Thor.
2
you guys
hours
want-
later.
Yeah, I know, an hour and a half. Do you guys want to? Do you guys want to keep going, or do you want to go do Captain America tomorrow? Then we'll do Avengers later in the week. Because
It's up
it
to you
is.
guys.
It's noon right now,
Mm,
and I know you got the Rugrats, Kyle.
yeah. We can do Captain America tomorrow because we'll end up if we do Captain America now, we'll be in a 3-hour episode.
Yeah,
Because I think
if we're gonna.
We'll spend a lot more time on Captain America than we will on Thor. We spent a lot more time on Thor than I thought we would.
Than we thought. No, this is why I figured out that we'd probably do more than we thought we would. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, so let's plan on tomorrow night then. We'll do well, hell, it depends on like what time the snow falls and everything too. We might be able to do it during the day. We'll just text each other.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact we're not gonna have swimming tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do Cap and then we'll do yeah, and like I said, we'll do maybe tomorrow we'll do the Nerd Drum.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the Avengers. So yeah, this figured exactly how I thought it would go.
Mhm.
But you know what? I'm okay with that because I love talking to you guys about this. I just like doing this.
I didn't think we would do it. I really didn't think we'd do an hour and a half on Thor. I thought this would be a.
I didn't think we'd get through. I didn't think we'd get to Cap today.
You're
But-
in the minority, sir.
I really thought until once. I mean, it happens every time we start getting into the meat and potatoes of all of it, and
And
really,
we like talking.
and we start fleshing it
I
out.
will say that this was the one that really made me very hopeful that it wasn't going to be like the DC movies and that comedy isn't forced.
Yep.
They bring in certain characters. Like Thor was not a comical guy. Like all the
Nope.
comedy in this really came from Darcy.
Mhm.
You know, you had a line when he first gets his uniform or when he first gets his costume and Jane's like, "This is your look. It's a good look." You know,
Yep.
it's stuff like that.
Yes.
When I felt like they weren't going to force the comedy like DC does, they're smart enough to bring in side characters or let Tony Stark be the smart ass or Cap in his that one line was a language, just stuff like
Yes.
that plays to the character. That's just hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of DC bullshit, did you see that they finally came out and said that they're all in the same universe now? The Arrowverse, or I guess the CW verse now, the movies and the animated shows, they're all in the same universe now. And all the
no.
reactions I've seen, yeah, this came out yesterday. The WB guy said, and everyone's just like, okay, yeah, whatever. That's why we saw Barry and Barry meet up. So
Right.
whatever. Like DC's just, I think they're kind of tanking personally right now. Like
I saw where they signed Supergirl, Melissa, however you say her last name, on for
yeah,
solely that character.
yep. Like it's, I
Which
don't
is
know.
a good move.
Yeah, it is because I like that character, but I think that I'm excited about the new Justice League movie that we have in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see how different it truly is.
Did you see the new trailer?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see
It's-
Granny Goodness and Desaad in it?
I did not see the sod. I saw. I don't think I paid attention to the sod. I saw Granny Goodness.
Okay, so look to the left. That's Desaad.
Yeah, I think it's
I'm
going to be
hopeful to
exactly
it.
what I'd hoped for.
Me too.
I still need to watch Wonder Woman.
I liked 84. I really liked it. I mean,
I did
I have my complaints with it on they didn't develop the Cheetah character,
Right.
but I liked it. So
But my
it's
biggest concern
it's out on
was
digital now, Kyle.
I didn't
Yeah.
think Kristen Wiig was going to be a good villain, and she killed it for
Hold
what
on.
she was given.
Oh, she did. I was honestly concerned about that. I really
Me
was.
too. I was too.
Yeah, I'll get on that. I've been on a Marvel kick for like the last month now, with going back and binging the old X-Men movies, and trying to get ready for the crossover, and get all that in my head that I
Ooh,
have.
this week's WandaVision.
Oh shit. Okay. Can we all agree that we were all completely surprised by Jimmy Woo
Mhm.
when he
Yes.
just attacked? Like Tasha and I just looked at you. I go, "Holy crap! You think he's just this happy-go-lucky, like
Right.
kind of throwaway character, you know?" Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah.
This is definitely just some of the little comments they've definitely kind of, I feel like, tipped their hand on who the big bad is for Doctor Strange.
Right.
Yeah. It's gonna be so good. I'm so
Demon
ready.
Spawn, Devil Spawn.
Oh
whatever
yeah.
you said.
Yeah, there were so many references to that. I'm ready to dive into that one, tear that episode apart, frame by frame,
am
like we
too.
do. Tear it apart in a
So
good way.
it's-
I don't mean like
It's tearing it
critique
apart
it.
in a good way.
Yeah.
You guys are doing a really good job on those
Thanks, man.
because there's a lot to those.
Well, yeah. I mean, you
It-
can
it-
show how deep Marvel's been going. We can spend 2.5 hours on a 40-minute episode, and we did
Mhm.
not that long on a hour-and-a-half long movie just now. So
Well, it's just I
And it's
really like doing the
exciting.
Nerkies because they're fun to tear apart. And BRob, I want you part of the next Nerky too, because I think you'll enjoy the Falcon and the Winter Soldier a lot, based on how you've been talking about it already.
I'm stoked.
Well, and that might be fun to get like a 4-person Nerky going, because then we get different points of views too. And
like a Forky.
a Forky, we can call it the Forky.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Or the
Nerky foursome.
Sporky. Nerky foursome.
But I'm calling it now. I don't think they'll ever come out and say that Magneto is their father.
No, I don't think they will either. Which
I don't think
pisses me
there's
off.
any way without doing all the backstory for the High Evolutionary and all that.
Yep,
It just
yep.
it would piss too many people off.
Well, and I'm getting kind of pissed thinking of how they might introduce the mutants at this point after this episode now too.
Right.
I don't want Darcy to be a mutant. I want her to be Darcy.
Right.
So
But I don't know how they don't go that way when they're sitting there making it a big deal about how many times Monica's gone through that.
Yeah.
I know,
hours.
which
So
that is one that is a part I don't like right now about that.
right.
To be honest with you, because I'm like, no, mutants are born; they're not created. They're,
It's going to
but
come out
I'll
that,
take it.
that the red force field is going to activate midichlorians, and then we're going to have all this crazy. There's your Luke Skywalker moment that they.
Right. All right, dude. I tried to buy Wonder Woman 84. It's only for rent right now.
Oof.
So you just have to wait.
I think it's on HBO Max or something.
Nope.
No,
Ah.
it's pulled off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they only
I
do it
missed
for
it.
30 days.
Okay. Well,
But
okay,
just wait. Once the minute that it's out for digital, I'll buy it. Then you can watch it.
Okay. Chris is like my
Um,
sugar daddy for movies.
I really am. Oh, we'll have Monster Hunter Tuesday too. Also,
Oh, really?
yep.
I've never
Well,
played those.
I love
Me
Monster
neither.
Hunter.
Tinker really wants to watch that.
I am so iffy on this, but I like Mila, so
Right.
I like the Resident Evil movies. I thought she did a good job with what she was given.
Mhm.
So we'll go with that. So, all right, gents. Well, I am going to go eat some lunch, and then I'm going to get my shot. And then you're playing D&D tonight, aren't you?
Yep. We got D&D going tonight at sometime this evening, so I'll be live.
Unless it's not, then let's play something.
Yeah.
And I'm telling, okay, that game I was telling you about, that second extinction, it's Left 4 Dead with dinosaurs, and it is hard as hell. I can't play it one player.
I'll
I
come
got
save you.
overwhelmed by it. I got overwhelmed by it, dude.
I'll come save you on it.
Thanks, bastard.
Yeah, we'll be doing D&D tonight, and you guys check that out. Typically, it's Friday nights when I'm streaming it. I don't know if you've ever got hopped on Twitch or not, BRob, but there's that one's
I'm
kind of
there.
Yeah, Chris is there under Guyver. Could get you an account and watch us be extra nerdy. And
Cool.
Well, yeah, if you get a Twitch account, go and follow Kyle and I.
get your links in that. We'll
Will do.
throw those links in the bios for the videos too.
Yeah, especially when we play the spooky games and we jump. Like the last one we played, Kyle threw his mouse.
I did. I jumped so damn hard, man. Like,
Well, and I sat on my balls.
yeah. Typically, if we play scary games, Chris injures himself at least once a night.
I do. I rolled my ankle in one game. Don't ask me how, because I'm sitting.
Yeah, it happens. It's good
That's
times.
the only sports-related injury you've ever had. So
Well, you damn straight, sir.
Mhm.
All right, gents. So let's plan on tomorrow. We'll touch base and we'll see what time we're good for. Because if it's snowing and we can't do anything, and I can't go out or do anything, and you guys are good, maybe we'll just knock it out during the day.
Mhm.
So we'll touch base.
All right. Well,
All right, gents.
Thank you guys for listening. Let's continue our ramble.
Yeah,
And,
we'll continue our ramble.
Excuse me.
We appreciate you guys.
Everybody that's hanging in there, watching, listening, all the support that we've getting. The feedback's been great. Super encouraging that you guys are enjoying this, because that makes us want to keep doing it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And so yeah, as long as you guys keep enjoying it, or even if you don't, we'll probably keep doing it. But
We'll keep doing it anyway. It's therapeutic for me. I think it's fun.
yeah, keep up with the feedback. Join the Discord. There's some good conversations, starting to happen in there now. So, yeah, you guys be part of the community. Help us grow. Give us ideas. Give us feedback. We're going to, we're getting through the MCU stuff, and we're going to start touching on a lot of other topics too, and may start sprinkling those in a little bit more. So yeah, you guys get in that community. Let us know what you think. Share your ideas. Talk about the episodes. Talk about stuff that we missed, because I'm sure we miss a lot. But let us know what you think, and we really appreciate the support.
What he said. I'm not going to add to that because it was very well said. So with that, thank you for listening to Every Man's Guide to Nerddom. I'm Chris.
And I'm Kyle. Thanks, BRob, for being our extra special guest again. Hopefully you unfreeze from your cheers position sometime soon. Thank you for recovery. Starting to worry about you.
hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah. I hope you're sitting down. You're not standing up with your knees locked right now.
So we'll see y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Nerdcore, rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore, rise up. It could get elevated. Nerdcore used to be just a made up word. MCs tried to